very likely to face those sorts of things.
Absolutely. So we are just getting the players ready. We'll be getting ready to go into the games here shortly.
Very excited to see Joe and Link
yeah,
face off.
First up today broadcasting, we do have Trader-Joe
Yeah.
versus TurquoiseLink. I am really, really excited to see these two face off. These are like mainstays in the tournament scene. So
let's take a look at what they brought today. We have Trader-Joe, who was rocking Battle Mage, House Lalu, House Telvanni, and Scout.
Yep, this is a pretty standard tournament lineup.
Right. Mid-range Battle Mage, kind of a classic list for this sort of thing.
Absolutely. Link has brought Scout, House Halalu, House Telvanni, and as you said, Tribunal Temple, that deck that we're excited to see.
Yeah.
If you are Link and you're looking at Joe's more traditional lineup, what do you ban here?
I think that it's fairly obvious at this point, I think in the tournament scene, that you should probably ban Uprising Scout.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. I'm a big fan of banning Scout whenever possible. If not Scout, maybe Telvanni. They both play very similarly. I guess for me, it's a question of, do I fear the more combo-oriented one or the more just traditional value-oriented one? Similarly, if I'm Trader-Joe and I'm looking at Link's lineup, I think you have to make those same decisions. I would target either Scout or House Telvanni.
I have to agree.
I think they're both safe bans, right? Anytime you can take the big Uprising combos out of somebody's lineup.
I have to agree. I have to say, though, if I'm Joe, I'm a little suspicious of Link's Tribunal Temple list. I mean, these players have had each other's lists for a little while now to prepare for this moment. And I would think to myself, this is one of the most dangerous-looking tournament-specifically designed decks I've ever seen. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the presence of essentially a third Uprising deck.
It is a third Uprising deck.
Could be the wild card here. And
bans are in.
We almost look like we know what we're doing for once.
We're getting better at this.
Yeah, we're getting better at this. So Trader-Joe did ban Scout TurquoiseLink, and rightfully so.
Yes, absolutely. But TurquoiseLink, I think banning Telvanni is a pretty reasonable move too, right? I mean, Telvanni has a certain sort of inevitability.
I really actually like this ban. If you're ever not going to go Scout, it's because you have a deck that you think can be a little bit more reactionary to the other stuff.
And we talked about that Tribunal Temple deck.
The Tribunal Temple deck, I think, matches up a little bit better against opposing Scout decks as opposed to the more combo-oriented Telvanni. And in banning Telvanni and attacking the Scout, this actually might be how Link has done so well in this tournament. He might have built a deck specifically to prey on Scout. Be able to, that allows him to ban something else out of a lineup, and then use that to his advantage. I actually think this might work out really well for him.
I'm excited to see how it works out. I think that, to be honest, preying on Scout, I can't help but think like when you're in this tournament and you don't bring Scout, you're just praying you don't run into it.
Yeah, or that you can race it, as we've seen with many of the aggressive decks.
There's prayer involved either way, the attacker or the defender.
Yeah, like I think about last week when Dust had essentially 4 versions of the exact same deck. He was clearly like, I'm just going to attack Scout and everything else combo-oriented, and I'm going to come underneath it.
And it worked for Dust. Dust is going to QuakeCon.
Yeah, Dust has earned a spot at QuakeCon. I Like Pasta had a very similar tactic. But clearly, and this is why we highlighted it earlier, Scout is kind of defining the tournament scene. You either have to play it, Divine, right? Something to beat it, because you're basically asking the gods. So maybe something like Link's Tribunal list, or ban it or race it, right? Like it's all about Scout and or Ulfric's Uprising, really.
Well, I guess we'll have to see how powerful the Hand of the Gods is as it reaches down in here into our very first match.
That's right. So in the first game of this series,
here we go. We are getting started today, and I am super jazzed. We have Joe on Halalu. We have TurquoiseLink on that really interesting Tribunal Temple deck, and we are ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, Trader-Joe does start with the Ring of Magicka. Interesting thing, for our broadcasted games over 2 weeks, Ring of Magicka is slightly favored at 56% win rate.
Wow, that is interesting.
The first week, it was actually under the win rate. It was only like 45% win rate. So,
do you think that the decks people brought the second week were a reflection of the meta and it happened to line up better with the Ring?
There were some more aggressive decks week 2, and I think that might have played a little bit into it, but still, it's really close in my mind. A lot of the conversation about tournaments has been, is the Ring too powerful, specifically at high-level play? Closer to 50% is ideal, but 56% after 2 weeks I think is still pretty solid.
So we see Trader-Joe has one of the best leads you can have in theory in a Halalu deck, which is the turn 2 Goblin Skulk in this case. But Link's hand is full of ways to kill it.
Absolutely. Link has come prepared for the Goblin Skulk.
Right.
Execute, you have to think, is probably your ideal game plan here because the negations can go through buffed things later. The Execute cannot.
Has more utility later on.
And Link agrees. We almost look like we know what we're doing again.
Well, I mean, one of the great things about casting these tournaments is that we've been to maintain the illusion that we could ever qualify for them.
Correct. So here, now Joe has to, again, advance his board. I really like Withered Hand Cultist here.
Right.
The downside is Link has a wall to put in front of it in that Hive Defender.
It does. This is already looking pretty rough for Joe. You know, I mean, you want to lay Withered Hand Cultist down at a point when it has maximum impact. Next turn, Hive Defender's coming down no matter what. So you're not likely to get the impact you're looking for.
Yeah, if he had another 2-drop there, I almost think he might have paired Goblin Skulk with it.
Yeah.
Because, again, saving that Withered Hand for when you really want it or need it is more ideal, I think. Now, the good news is he has a ring charge, so he can certainly develop either the Vanguard or the Skulk and Sharpshooter that. Allows him to push a little damage if he wants.
I do, and I like not getting any damage on that Withered Hand Cultist. Make TurquoiseLink have to work for it next turn.
Yeah, essentially, by delaying the damage done to the Withered Hand Cultist, you do say, you know, you have to have a Firebolt or you have to spend another turn, and the more time that card spends on the board, the better off you are.
And, you know, speaking of making people work for it, I'm pretty disappointed that you said that last night's dinner was not a date.
I said it wasn't a first date.
Oh?
We're going steady.
Oh, all right. I'm happy now. So, Sorcerer's Negation. I think Sorcerer's Negation is actually still a pretty fine card in 4 Magicka.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, here we have some interesting decisions for Traitor-Joe.
Yeah.
On the one hand, Crusader's Assault would be his entire turn, but it would get the Hive Defender off the board, but it does put damage on that Withered Hand.
It does.
Now, the other option is you develop a couple of charging 1/1s, which doesn't feel great.
No.
So I'm interested to see what Joe does here.
Yeah.
Because neither play feels good.
It doesn't. And you're kind of setting up your plan for the rest of the game here, right? If you Crusader's Assault into it, you're saying, hey, I'm going to win on card just numbers.
Yeah,
I'm
quantity.
just going to win on quantity here. If you advance the Stormcloak Vanguard and the Nord Firebrand, you're saying, I think that eventually I'll just swarm you and win. That doesn't seem like a great plan, especially when we know that Link is sitting on such incredible value as Necromancer, Pathmage, and Odoving long term.
Yeah, I mean, even though I wouldn't feel good about that Crusader's Assault, when I look at the rest of his hand...
Drops down to the top.
Yeah, and this is a perfectly reasonable path as well. When I look at the rest of his hand, there's not a lot to be excited about.
No.
If you had, you know, buff cards, things that could interact with those 1/1s, you might be a little more inclined, but this is a good path.
Halalu Sharpshooter. By the way, premium Halalu Sharpshooter. Absolutely gorgeous sitting there in Joe's hand. I'm a fan. The glowing bow. This is a tough one for TurquoiseLink, right? Because, like, Joe's not sitting on a lot. We know that. But that Crusader's Assault's going to help him refuel, and there's no way for Link right now to remove both creatures. In the long term, he has to take care of that Withered Hand Cultist. With Chewbacca watching over him, his Magicka is not going to be able to be effectively leveraged. You know, there's not going to be a great Ice Storm, Javelins. He's got Casting of Times in the deck. Those are going to be rough cards to cast.
Yeah, I think ultimately he makes the right decision with that Edict.
Yeah.
While you want to remove the bigger body,
I agree.
The Withered Hand Cultist is severely impacting his ability to use his combo pieces like a Night to Remember.
And now we see Joe coming down with a really solid... Ooh, I like the Haunted Manor.
Yeah, this has drastically improved Joe's hand. All those things we were talking about that would help your smaller creatures develop. Clan Captain, Haunted Manor, 2 ways to do that. I really like those pickups.
I agree. Halalu Sharpshooter is such a strong card in certain situations. It feels so awkward in this hand right now.
So here's an interesting decision that Joe has to make.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I mean, it feels like an obvious, like you play Manor and pass, but when you're playing against Tribunal, and you know that they have Edicts, they have Shadow Fence, potentially things like that, playing it without getting immediate impact kind of feels bad.
It does.
It's still the right play.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of curious to see if Joe was considering waiting in the next turn at 7, playing Manor 2-drop, 2-drop to guarantee value.
I noticed TurquoiseLink is currently rocking the Persistent title. I like that, because TurquoiseLink has put in the hours these last 2 weeks, made to the top 8 this time, and it's that persistence that's paying off.
Yeah, there is probably very few people who can compete with Link in terms of grinding on the ladder.
Absolutely. This is a guy who is always on top.
Yeah, and he's always trying to try new things, try new deck styles. He's a lot of fun to watch and to hear what his thought process is.
Wow. What do you thought was there?
I think the thought there is that he needs a board presence.
Yeah.
If Trader-Joe decides to just trade with that Path Mage, then that buys him 5 damage, essentially. And if he leaves it, then Joe is risking allowing him to trigger that with more Magicka by him playing A Night to Remember, him playing Ulfric's Uprising. You're basically saying, okay, Joe, I'm going to say, here's a really threatening creature you have to remove.
That is fair. This is as close as he can get to laying down a guard creature. Right
now. It looks really benign as just a 4/4 when it's sitting there on the table. But again, all of these Uprising decks that use Ulfric's Uprising, use A Night to Remember, they thrive on powerful summon effects. Genius Pathmage, one of the best summon effects in the game right now. So he's forcing Joe to make a tough decision, and I like this game plan.
I like the Cliff Racer pickup here for Joe. You know, I was kind of looking at the smaller creatures, the Skulk, the Captain, the Hollow Sharpshooter, thinking, how do you make that connection for the last bits of damage? If Joe wants to right now, he can push a ton of damage. Looking at, you know, if he goes Clan Captain into Cliff Racer, it's sort of like there's no follow-up, but it was an interesting way to push an absolute boatload of damage. Looks like he's still going to push quite a bit.
Yeah, he's kind of going with the all-in, and I think I like this.
Yeah,
you do risk the combo going off.
Yes.
But I don't think that you win by trying to outvalue Tribunal long term. I think that you win by saying, I've got enough damage.
Fit in,
yeah.
If it fits face, it ships face. So here we have, I mean, you know, God, TurquoiseLink is sitting on so many options here. But he is so close to dead. He needs to answer everything or risk dying to any kind of top deck from Joe.
Assuming, I was going to say, assuming that Link pulls 2 creatures off.
He's grabbing a 5-drop. We know that the 5-drops in this list are Doppelganger and Iron.
Yeah, and Doppelganger will set up chains if he wants. So this is a really, quality
powerful
play.
Stuff, yeah.
Oh, what a pickup.
Yep. That Night to Remember, that...
Because that'll allow him to tutor for something for 4 if he wants, and in the 4 slot he does have things like...
Hive Defender.
Or Tribunal Oathman, which would gain him some health, and the health would be huge.
I agree. This is one of the reasons I was so excited to see this deck go off, is these Genius Pathmage chains.
Alright, so he does find a Hive Defender, doesn't gain the health, but the guard is probably welcome. However, Joe's sitting on that Sharpshooter.
Yeah, Joe is still... well within the ability to kill Link next turn.
Yeah, he just needs to find 1 damage at this moment.
Yeah, there are a lot of things in Joe's list here that could pull this off. Corner Club Gambler, not one of them. Although not a terrible pickup either. It's going to get negationed, but not knowing Link's hand.
Yeah, that's an interesting pickup because on the one hand, you're probably playing at least the Sharpshooter this turn. So he's going to have to make this decision of, do I just play all 3?
Yeah.
And then hope the Gambler makes it, or...
I mean, I think you need to punch Link for 6 here. All in, hope to draw a charge creature. Play to your outs. I don't know how else you're winning this one if you're Trader-Joe. That makes, you know, Nord Firebrand a lethal draw. There's no way for Link to put a guard creature in each lane, and if the Hive Defender gets silenced, which is what I'm hoping here...
Yeah, now, that being said, Link is going to have some interesting options if that is the path Joe takes, because he'll have a Dawn's Wrath available and a Sorcerer's Negation. Because of that Iron making things discounted, he likely could clear the entire board. So while Joe will just need any charger, you know, to win, Link could theoretically stabilize at 1.
He
and
definitely
have one
could.
Heck of a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, most of Joe's deck isn't going to win him the game when he draws it, and it's going to give Link times to figure out, you know, well, time to draw better answers. Draw life gain, draw any number of things. But I think you just have to maximize your damage output, because you know you're running 3 Nord Firebrands in your deck. You need to make those lethal draws. I mean,
Joe is taking his time. This is a tough decision. So if you're wondering, you know, hey, I always hear about those tough calls that aggro players have to make.
Right.
This is one of them. They are not as brainless as they seem.
No.
All right, so it does look like we're going to see that scenario where we see a Dawn's Wrath and a negation.
Yep.
I have to believe that's the line that Link takes here.
I mean, it's amazing. That Iron being in play is what's going to keep Link alive, right? Because he needs to play negation and Dawn's Wrath this turn.
Well, that does speak to the power of Path Mage, though, right?
Right.
That Iron would have never been fetched
if
it weren't for amazing Path Mage recurrence.
Right, and Genius Path Mage is one of those kind of cards that really rewards high-level, thoughtful players like TurquoiseLink.
And it really it rewards you during the deck building process. I love cards that do that, that say, I'm going to give you a big value in the game, but if you tailor your deck around me, you'll get even more value.
I agree.
Stuff like Path Mage, stuff like Ultra of Despair, I'm a big fan of.
Oh, Halalu Oathman's a live draw.
Oh, that is a live draw.
That's huge. Let's see what it does. What do we got? It's like 5 things. Oh, Manor's not where you want to draw. Another, what did you call this? Spooky Palace?
I call it the Spooky Mansion.
Spooky Mansion? Haunted Manor.
Haunted Manor, sure.
I mean, that's literally the name of the card. I recently learned to read. My Legends gameplay has improved dramatically.
I imagine so. Though, I'll be honest, the art in this game is fantastic, and you could probably get away with just picking the stuff that looks pretty.
I've done it for 2 years. So, what is Link thinking right now? Probably consulting his list to make sure he knows what Ulfric's Uprising does when he plays it.
So, I want to note, I like Joe's decision to hold the Manor last turn.
Yeah.
Because playing it gives him essentially no benefit.
Right.
And by holding it, it gives Link more to think about. This is one of those rare instances in this game where you can kind of pseudo bluff, right? Leave your opponent hanging. Okay, what does he have that he would potentially not play there? Is it a creature?
There's a couple practical reasons too, right? I mean, like it can trigger the plot on a Surin Pawnbroker in Joe's deck next turn, which could give him a lethal.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not impossible. Okay, this is again Link navigating these Genius Path Mage chains. If you guys aren't familiar with Genius Path Mage, it's kind of a fascinating card. It's a 6 Magicka 4/4, and when you summon it, it summons from your deck a creature with casting cost equal to the amount of max Magicka you have left that turn.
I'm very surprised that he opted to take the Hive Defender instead of the Javelin there. And my reasoning behind that is if Joe had another Silence, now granted, he has played 2, the likelihood is low, but if he had another Silence, not directly removing the creature means that he would lose, right? Because he would have the plot to trigger and go through. So it's an interesting decision.
This is rough for Joe. The window at which Joe has the opportunity to find lethal is quickly closing. If TurquoiseLink can find himself a guard for the right lane, this is game over.
Yeah, he very well has plenty of ways to deal with the current board. He's got the Harpy for the Shadow lane. He can clearly trade into the field lane. Had Marak available if he really wanted to, but...
This could pull Tree Minder, which... Okay, that's... And there's the life gain. And another Ulfric's Uprising. Holy crap. Iron Uprising. This is a tournament first for this Masters Series. You thought that Scout and Telvanni could generate absurd amounts of value.
Yeah, one of the things to note about Iron is the summon effect returns a random action from Link's discard pile to his hand.
Right.
And Uprising is an action. So if you have a small number of actions in your discard pile, you can chain the Uprisings together turn after turn after turn.
You know what's still lethal? Joe can draw a raiding party. Joe can draw a raiding party for lethal here.
Yeah, a raiding party would do it.
So would, because no guard ended up in the Shadow lane, Cliff Racer also lethal.
Cliff Racer is lethal because of the Divine Fervor.
Yeah, this is huge. It's not over yet.
Seems I must stoop to their level.
I think TurquoiseLink knows it too. Link's thinking, I have to win the following turn.
Yeah, I think he's putting himself on the cusp of lethal for next turn.
Yeah. And one of the things that's interesting about Link's list, Link's running no lightning bolts.
Yeah, you and I were talking about that before the broadcast, and single target prophecy removal has really kind of devalued itself as lists.
Yeah.
They go away from the mid-range strategy. Killing your opponent's best creature just isn't really good enough when everything is about my big combos or flooding the board.
There's the raiding party. Link has 27 damage on board, though.
Seems I must stoop to their level.
Yeah,
so close, but I think Link's about to take this one home.
Yeah, Link also has available that Unkano and Ulfric's Uprising, so he has 10 burst damage in his hand.
There we go. TurquoiseLink taking home our first match of today's Master Series qualifier.
Yeah, and impressively so from 1 health.
And from a deck we haven't seen before in our top 8. This Uprising Tribunal Temple deck is really cool. This is a deck I want to play.
Yeah, it's a really interesting deck to see in action. The only thing I'm curious about now is you and I had talked about that deck and its potential matchup against Scout.
Yeah, we had thought, like, looking at it, it looked like the sort of thing that could steal wins against Scout.
Now that Link has won with it, it's out of his lineup. Does that put him at a disadvantage in the eventual Scout matchup against Trader-Joe?
It is an interesting question. If you are Link, what are you planning on beating Scout with? Or are you just thinking, hey, I'm going to try to win 3-1?
I mean, it could be something like that.
Yeah.
It could be that Link thinks maybe he can race it with his Hlaalu list.
That makes sense. I think Hlaalu is probably what a lot of players are thinking is their best bet.
Probably. So looking again at the bans and what's currently won, Link does have Hlaalu left. He does have Telvanni. Telvanni, if it gets its combo off, can certainly beat Scout.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. Just a lot of removal in that deck, too.
Absolutely. Now, if you're Trader-Joe, what do you do to get back in this?
If I'm Trader-Joe, I'm probably thinking, well, that's rough, because I don't want to play a Hlaalu Mirror, which could come down to edge cases and the Ring of Magicka. I probably want to take my fate into my own hands. So I'm probably going to rock either the Battle Mage or the Scout. Scout is one of those decks that I think I'd probably take the Scout into play.
Yeah, I think Scout's a safe choice.
Yeah.
As you and I have said, we're big fans of the deck. We think it's very strong in the format.
Definitely.
If you're unsure what to take, it's hard to go wrong with Scout.
I totally agree.
Knowing that Link still has his Hlaalu list left, it's probably a safe choice as well.
I have to agree. I mean, that's the sort of deck that can get the insane high roll against anything. Why not give it a shot?
Yeah, and if I had to pick a second one, I actually like the Battle Mage. Battle Mage, if it draws correctly, can make Hlaalu feel incredibly one-sided.
I agree.
So if you think Link is going to switch to Hlaalu, it might be a good time to queue up the Battle Mage. But
yeah, there's this whole aspect of tournaments where you're second-guessing, third-guessing, fourth-guessing, trying to figure out what level your opponent's deck choice is at. And I have to admit, I would just jam Scout.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to go wrong with Scout.
It is. It's a powerful deck. It can do obscene things. Let's see if the players agree, because I think we're ready to head into this game. It looks like Trader-Joe is rocking the Battle Mage, and Link is on his Hlaalu deck.
All right, so a little bit of what I was talking about. If you think somebody's going Hlaalu, it might be a good time to queue up the Battle Mage.
Yeah.
Again, we're getting okay at this in the third week.
We definitely are. Now we just need to be more attractive, and we will be the complete caster package.
Yeah, some things are just never going to happen, man.
Well, I mean, on the subject of complete caster packages, we are steadily dating now. All right, so TurquoiseLink has a pretty interesting hand here. Multiple 5th Legion trainers, of course, get, exponentially more powerful. But Trader-Joe's hand is looking pretty fierce, too.
Yeah, this Vigilant Ancestor is going to be a monster in that field lane because Link has no way to go around it.
I agree.
And doesn't have a good way to go through it because he got jammed on so many 5th Legion trainers.
Premium Vigilant Ancestor, by the way, looking pretty cool. It looks kind of like the guy from Watchmen.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Manhattan.
Fun fact, I have that thing on his forehead. I have that tattooed on my chest.
You do?
I do. You've seen it. So, if you're Joe here, are you thinking about, is there a world where you Cunning Ally, or do you just jam the Vigilant Ancestor?
I still feel like the Ancestor is a very good play here.
Yeah.
When you look at the board, that Ancestor has guard. It has 4 health.
Right.
That means that everything in the field lane as is isn't enough to kill it, and it kills both.
Okay.
So I personally really like that play there, but it's hard to argue against a Cunning Ally anytime it triggers.
I agree. And if we know anything about tournament players, it's that their Cunning Allies always trigger. Or people who face against me on the ladder.
You can't defeat me.
So one of the things that I do like about the Cunning Ally when you were looking at that board state is it would have potentially allowed for some value trades, right? That single ally could have traded into the 2-1, let him firebolt the other one, or excuse me, traded in the 1-1, let him firebolt the 2-1.
Yeah.
Hive Defender kind of ruins that game plan now.
It also does a great job of contesting that Vigilant Ancestor, given that it's got +2 attack from the 2 5th Legion trainers.
Yeah, so now the Ancestor looks like a much worse play because the Hive Defender not only trades into it, but survives because of that very impressive 6 health.
Yeah, there's a big butt on that thing.
Yeah, that's actually why Hive Defender, even since Core Set, has basically been a staple in almost anything that runs willpower, because the health alone is a monster to deal with. And that's why it's played in control decks because of the guard, but also aggressive decks like this. It gives you a big threat that your opponent has to deal with.
Yeah, beating down with a 5/6 for Magicka is a welcome opportunity.
All right, so again, a naked Breton Conjurer.
We see a lot of this in the tournament, which is interesting because it always seems to work out for players in the tournament scene. Never seems to work out for me when I'm doing it on the ladder.
I think part of the benefit of the tournament scene is you know what people's lists are, right? Like you get to see them because you have to choose one to ban and so forth.
Right.
Maybe that fills you with a little bit more confidence. Okay, I know these are the potential answers.
Right.
Ladder, you're kind of guessing.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm looking at TurquoiseLink's Halalu list. We just saw in the previous game Traitor-Joe's Halalu list. There are a couple marked differences that we were talking about.
Yeah, TurquoiseLink has forgone Divine Fervors in his list.
Right, running the Black Dragon.
Yeah, his list is like even lower to the ground, if you will. It's a very aggressive list.
Curving out at Anasi and Cliff Racer for top end.
I'm curious to see how this ends up panning out in comparison. Now, this Lightning Bolt...
It's kind of huge. Is there a world where you Lightning Bolt your Breton Conjurer here?
I honestly think that's the only play that I like. It's either it goes back into my hand or I would trigger a 5/5. I don't personally like using it for a 1/1 or a 2/1, especially if I have a Cunning Ally and a Firebolt in my hand as well.
Right. Okay. Well, we didn't call that one. I'm going to blame you, actually, for this, though.
I mean, I can understand it, right? That sets up a Firebolt there, and then the Breton Conjurer can trade.
Yeah. Wow. First and second rune prophecies. Joe is making Link work for it.
Yeah. Link is not happy with back-to-back runes turning into prophecies.
No. Shackling the 1/1. And laying down another Hive Defender, 2 Cliff Racers and another 5th Legion trainer in hand. Link is probably doing the math and thinking, look, this is the number of times I still need to connect.
Yeah.
I'm this close to taking this game down.
Yeah, with 2 Cliff Racers and a 5th Legion trainer in hand, Link has an awful lot of reach available. So if he can just keep pressuring, right now, being able to transition to that shadow lane and push with the Racers, kind of a big deal. Battle Mage doesn't historically have a lot of ways to gain health.
No, but what Joe has right now is a lot of ways to generate Frost Atronox.
Yes. A lot of guards available between the Breton Conjurers, the Lesser Ward for re-triggers.
These 5/6 Hive Defenders, though, just stacking up so well against potential Frost Atronox.
Yeah. Vigilant Ancestor gets in the way for a bit. You don't trade directly with the Hive Defenders, but if you can just stall long enough, I think that it still might favor Joe.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Surviving to that Vigilant Giant's kind of a big deal.
Right.
It's going to be an interesting game to watch.
And Joe still has access to that Vigilant Ancestor. You know, he was kind of forced into a position where it wasn't a great play in the early game. And in the turn he could have played it. He played the Cunning Ally instead. Having a huge guard to lay down on demand this late in the game, kind of huge.
So Joe has a lot to think about here, and this is why the turn is taking so long, because he knew he was going to trade with that Conjurer, trigger a 5/5. There might have been some question about how he could trigger a 5/5 in the other lane if he maybe stacked that one. Instead, he opts to just use his Firebolt on his own Conjurer.
I like this.
Completely acceptable play.
I think this is the best play Joe could have made.
Yeah, it does not trade directly with the Hive Defender. It allows him to reward the Conjurer, trade the next turn, put another 5/5 up. It's a fantastic play. Link has to be breathing a sigh of relief that is a rune that did not result in a prophecy.
Interesting to see Blood Dragon here. I know there's been a lot of discussion on Twitter this week, actually, in the Legends Twitter community about is Blood Dragon good or appropriate in Giants Battle Mage. Where do you fall on this?
I really like what it does in terms of helping control the board.
Yeah.
it doesn't do anything the turn it comes down, right? Like, that's the big drawback. But the fact that I can, place it and then attack anything in any lane, it's got 7 health, and that's kind of what Giant's Battle Mage wants to do in the early part, is it wants to control the board, make these value trades like we're seeing Joe do. I like Blood Dragon for that. With a lot less direct removal, I think it's less susceptible.
Yeah, I can understand that. Joe has amassed an incredible board here. And TurquoiseLink's hand, his draws to this game have been kind of wonky, right? 3 5th Legion Trainers, 3 Cliff Racers, 2 Hive Defenders? Just a lot of redundancy here. I mean, some very powerful core set cards. We've been playing with them for a long time. It hasn't stacked up super well against Joe's army of Frost Atronachs.
It seems that way, but I actually really like Link's hand right now. He's got a 5th Legion that he can develop. This other Cliff Racer can then trade into the 5/5, and the existing one could push, or he's going to go with the Captain and then maybe ring into Raiding Party. That lets him push 6 damage as well.
It does. With the 2 Cliff Racers in hand, he might just be thinking, like I said earlier, I've been doing the math. I got 1 turn left, probably.
Yeah. So while his hand has been clunky, it's been filled with a lot of things that buff and a lot of things that charge.
And there's another Prophecy.
And it does not matter if Prophecy Lightning Bolt is a thing.
And we're about to see Joe get rewarded, too, for holding that Vigilant Ancestor this whole time.
This has got to feel bad if you're Link, because you had such a good aggressive charging hand.
I agree.
This game is going to 100% be decided by these Prophecies.
Yeah, this is brutal. Another Blood Dragon's not going to do a lot this turn.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to, though. Trader-Joe actually has a very good hand with the Ancestor, with the Cunning Ally, with the Rapid Shot. So even if Cunning Ally misses, he can still take out one of the Firebrands.
Yeah.
He can very much wall up his board again, buy himself a turn until that Vigilant Giant could come down next turn.
Right. I think the only way this turn got better for Joe is if that Blood Dragon he drew was a lesser ward, maybe?
Yeah, lesser ward would have been really, really impressive there as well.
But yeah, the Vigilant Ancestor, the Vigilant Giant coming down, a lot of vigilance going on here. Hypervigilance, by the way, something you should probably talk to your therapist about. So here, it's interesting, because I can still imagine a world where Joe dies, right? It's going to take very specific draws. But yeah, Joe's looking to close out this game. Cycling the Rapid Shot. I mean, he's got 6, 7, 10 damage on the board still that he can attack with.
There we go. I like this play first. By playing the ally, if you need to use the Rapid Shot and then use the Firebolt.
I agree. Does some trading, drops Vigilant Ancestor probably. Swings first in case he needs to Firebolt something. There we go. Okay, setting it down.
So Link did pick up another Raiding Party. Doesn't have anything other than that 5th Legion Trainer to buff it anymore, but that does let him get through the Vigilant Ancestor in the Shadow Lane.
You know what Link could do? Surin Pawnbroker could give him a random 0-cost card. Alduin costs 0 sometimes.
Well, it could also give him something like Suppress to just silence that.
Victory is yours.
Ooh, and he's playing Daggers in the Dark Concede is the move. Turquoise Link falling down. We're now 1-1, right?
Yeah, Link has decided to just concede after.
All right.
You have to assume he was looking for one of those silences, right?
That was a
something that could force it through.
I have to agree. That was a pretty interesting game, back and forth there. We've seen Halalu not get there again. Something we've seen quite a bit in this tournament.
In Link's defense, this game was decided by prophecies.
Yeah, like 3 prophecy hits were huge there.
100%, no doubt about it. That is a lot of free tempo going Trader Joe's way.
Right.
Not taking anything away from Trader Joe.
Both players played really well.
Yeah, played it perfectly, but 3 prophecies is a lot to overcome as an aggressive deck.
And that's why you run them, because sometimes those edge cases, those 49-51% matchups, push you over the edge when you hit those prophecies, and that's exactly what we saw happen there. If you're Link, what do you bring next time?
Oh, I think I'd bring Telvanni, and here's why. That loss is going to leave a little bit of salt in my mouth. It's going to have a bad taste there.
Right. Is it salt in your mouth? I think it's salt in the wound.
Salt in the wound.
Salt in the
bad
mouth
taste
fine.
in the mouth.
It tastes delicious.
It's called a Malifor, where you combine two things. You know, like rocket surgery, or I'll burn that bridge when I get there. Anyway, English lesson later.
How he was he worked with Snape. He was one of Harry Potter's enemies.
Yeah, whatever helps you sleep at night. The point is, if I have a loss like that, and I queue up Halalu again and lose again, it could really tilt me.
It could Malifor your brain.
Absolutely. So I think that you queue up Telvanni, you say, okay, let's just give myself a fresh start. Last thing was an anomaly. Let's get a win. We'll come back to the Halalu later. I think that's the way to go.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what we have next, because both players have been playing some pretty impressive legends for this early in the morning.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't even know what time it is where Link is.
Yeah, Link is from Australia, if you're not familiar. So it is not the morning for him.
It might be.
It might be.
Well, the world's flat, so like it's probably the same time there. I get it. Math checks out.
You are killing me right now. Don't give flat earthers any more ammo.
Okay. So I think that if I'm Link, I think you're right. I think Telvanni's a good pick for this next game. If I'm Joe, though, looks like we know right now Joe is back on Halalu.
Yeah. So now we get to see if Link can rebound, go to a deck that is a lot of fun to play, and I think has a really good matchup against this Halalu list.
I agree, and I'm just excited to see this Telvanni list. This is one of those decks, the skill cap is through the roof. I want to see it in the hands of a player of Link's caliber.
Yeah, I really, really liked the opening hand Link had. The Parthenax obviously is what he drew afterwards, but that negation, Sanctuary Pet, Blackhand Messenger, great
Second
start.
negation, too. I know I've said this before, but Sorcerer's Negation is an incredibly powerful control card, and it's a shame that Sorcerer Control has never been a thing.
Yeah, you know what else is a powerful control card? Blackhand Messenger. It was a much maligned card when it was released. Many people said it's a 3-cost Firebolt. Why would I ever run this? And yet, surprisingly, has been a mainstay.
I have to agree, it's done really well.
Yeah, it's just very good at what it does. It not just removes something, but it gives you more powerful summon effects at your disposal if you do run Uprising.
Yeah, in these Uprising decks, it's incredible. You can gain a lot of life for that.
Yep. It gives you free bodies to sacrifice if you do run Betray effects or things like Cruel Fire Bloom. There's just a lot of utility on this thing.
I agree. Now, Traitor-Joe is doing the Halalu thing where he is the aggressive deck here, but he has twice as many cards as his opponent.
Well, he's also doing this almost kind of like a combo deck-oriented thing where it looks like he's going to have an awful lot of Nord Firebrands. Well, he's going to have to draw some more cards here, but setting up a potential big swingy turn with that 5th Legion trainer, and I like his style.
I do. I think that one of the things you can do with these houses is just capitalize their skill set to the maximum ability you can, and that's a way to win, you know, if the skill set is useful. And in this case, I think that the drawing all the cards in your deck skill set is definitely one to capitalize on.
We are witnessing the makings of a very interesting matchup, because Link has played Thorana with 2 negations in hand. Meanwhile, Traitor-Joe top-decked a Spooky Mansion and has a lot of firepower with those Nord Firebrands in hand. We are about to see some fireworks on both sides of the table.
Firebrands, actually, is the name of the card.
Yeah, I'm aware. There's nobody who knows
Nord
time to fight better than me.
That's true. Charmer in 2018 still going face.
It's like my text notification.
Is it really?
Time to fight.
Oh man.
Time to fight.
When I see you texting me, I just throw my phone across the room.
Well, you should do that, because if you can see me texting, you don't need to read the messages. You can hear me.
Bro, what I meant was when I see notifications from you on my phone that you've been texting, I destroy my phone. I'm making a joke about not liking you.
That's fair.
All right, so we get the Haunted Mana coming down. How afraid of Thorana are you? I mean, Thorana is a card that does some insane things.
I mean, I'm pretty afraid of Thorana if the next card I see is Drain Vitality, because the only thing worse than level 3 drains is more that are free shuffled in.
6 of them, yeah.
I like where Traitor-Joe's head's at here with that potential Skulk play, because
I do too.
He's seen Link's list.
I agree.
He knows that it does not run Lightning Bolt, so a 4/4 Skulk is very hard to kill. Unfortunately for him,
Sorcerer's Negation.
Sorcerer's Negation is
I eat Skulks.
A fantastic answer.
And then we're seeing Nikki Ox join the crew. This is the combo piece that you're looking for if you're Link, but I don't think you're really interested in assembling a combo. I think you want to do Thorana shenanigans because they're cool.
Well, the beauty of Ox is if he really wants to develop it, he can do that as well this turn, but I agree in that there's not much incentive right now with no other ways to generate value.
Thorana also noteworthy as just being a 3-8.
Yeah, it is fantastic at trading down, especially in these matchups like Halalu that have a lot of smaller creatures.
You know who's fantastic at talking down? That would be you.
I talk down to a lot of people.
I deserve it.
Yeah. So even though Link is doing a fantastic job of controlling the board right now, again, I like Trader-Joe's game plan where it still, to me, appears like he's setting up big, splashy combo plays.
Well, he's still got a stacked hand.
Yeah. The 5th Legion Trainer into a raiding party alone would be some instant pressure, and that's on top of the other amazing cards in his hand that allow him to refill, right? Crusader draws, Assault draws.
Worth pointing out, though, he's still dealt... Oh, Vardvark Experiments making it... Wait, no, we saw Vardvark Experiments get played once already this tournament.
Yeah, we did. However, what we have not seen yet is Vardvark's Experiment...
with Haunted Manor,
with Haunted Manor on the board because it now is useless.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You, by the way, you play 20 Vardvarks, you get a title, the Adorable.
All right, so Link does find a Greybeard Mentor. That's a good pickup because Drain Vitality.
Hit for Drain Vitality.
Yeah, it is the only shout he is running in this Telvanni list.
And I think Link's pretty excited about it too.
Well, he's got a Thorana on the board, so.
He does. And I mean, because of that 8 toughness, the amount of work that a Halalu player would have to do, unless they can silence it, to take a Thorana off the board is, pretty considerable. Still, Joe's hand is full of explosive damage.
Joe has a lot of gas, but that field lane's pretty well contested right now.
It is. Yeah, this is rough.
I think this is the turn where we probably start to see Joe slowly edging the health down. Like, you have to know that the clock is turning against you.
Right.
So seeing some burst damage here, not blowing the whole thing, right? But enough to get a Firebrand charging with the Manor this turn, and then maybe the next turn, and turning that engine on.
I agree.
It's got to be coming soon.
And you have to be worried too that Link's sitting on like an Uprising in hand, and like you have like 2 turns left.
Yeah. So like I wouldn't be shocked, for example, to see a clan captain into a Firebrand come down, or it could even be.
Okay, Crusader's Assault maximizes his options. Takes out the Nixox.
That's a pretty heads-up play if you're trying to deny a degenerate Uprising.
Right, it might have been what we were just talking about, afraid of having that Uprising in hand. Just clearing everything off.
Yeah, so Clan Captain into Firebrand was the play. Again, week 3.
I know, we are nailing this.
Yeah, it's almost like we've learned something.
I wouldn't go that far.
Certainly not.
Yeah. Territorial Viper. Territorial Viper is so strong in certain matchups. Not ideal against Halalu.
It's not necessarily ideal, but it's not wasted. Anytime that you can kill something and then give you a tool to abuse with future Necromancers, it's pretty important in my mind.
Link is running out of cards here.
He is, but in his defense, he has all of his runes intact. He's playing against an aggressive deck, so I think in his mind he's saying, you know what? I'm okay with emptying my hand to be defensive because at some point you're going to give me cards back.
I agree. I have to agree.
And he's really also just trying to stall till that Parthenax comes online.
Yeah, Parthenax Thorana, kind of beautiful. There are currently 5 copies of Drain Vitality in Link's deck. There are 5 or 6 or 7 copies of Sorcerer's Negation.
You know, it's one of those interesting things where Parthenax and Thorana, you could almost trip over yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've with Thorana before, filled my deck with garbage.
Yeah.
And then lost the game because I just kept drawing Sorcerer's Negations and stuff like that.
Or even worse, like Unrelenting Force.
Yeah, well. So that's how you put the FU in Fussroda.
So Joe has a lot of decisions to make here because he knows Link's down to just 2 cards, and Joe has a lot of gas in hand, and a lot of it is charge. And again, with that Manor on the board, he can really start to ramp up that clock.
All those charge creatures, the Candlehearth Brawler, the Nord Firebrand, the 5th Legion Trainer. This is pretty powerful. And when you have 9 magic as a Halalu player and you have this many cards in hand, you have a lot of options.
I feel like our experiment is about to make an exit.
That's super unfortunate. I'm not a fan, just in principle, of discarding those adorable critters.
All right, so the downside here is that Joe kind of
more Sorcerous Negations.
kind of had a fantastic game plan that was ruined by Link's draw.
It was.
The negation will deal, for the most part, with the 5th Legion. The Viper will deal with the Gambler.
There we go. Deck full of Sorcerous Negations at this point.
Yeah, Joe had what was potentially a very impactful turn shut down by a really good top deck, realistically.
Yeah. Do you think that he's a little punished for not putting all of those things into the Shadow Lane? I mean, you can just shut off Territorial Viper like that.
You can, but the downside is Thorana sitting in that Shadow Lane means that you lose the Gambler. Like, you draw the cards, but you lose the Gambler the next turn. And with the plays Joe's been making, it's very clear he's been trying to generate some value to make a big push for damage. He hasn't broken any runes yet, right? So when he does, he's probably aiming to get Link down to at like half health, right? 15 or less, so that he can make a second big push for the victory.
I guess you could say that the gamble didn't pay off. But yeah. There's something kind of just great about sitting on one card in hand and it's Parthenax. It's just sort of beautiful.
Unless you're the opponent.
I mean, I don't know. Parthenax is on everybody's side. Mostly whoever's playing it, though.
Mostly whoever's playing it. So again, Joe's left with this really tough decision, right? He wants to make an impactful play. I suspect we might see some attacks followed by a 5th Legion into Cliff Racer, or it could be something into an East March. But it looks like he makes a liar out of me. He's just going to develop that 5th Legion.
That was an interesting play. Halalo Oathman's pretty huge. Keep the things going. Sanctuary Pet, Scouts Report. Oh, Scouts Report could be anything, so it's not terrible. You're one turn away from Parthenax. But you kind of want to set up a turn where playing Parthenax doesn't result in you, if you whiff, you know, to hit a couple Drained Vitalities, not taking a ton of damage. More Scouts Reports go into the deck. Thorana is having a really interesting effect on Link's deck here.
He really is. Or she, excuse me.
I can't honestly tell.
So that play by Traitor was really interesting because the Brawler, like, if you change up your order, right, you potentially get more damage in with the Brawler. If you play 5th Legion first and then Brawler, then Brawler gets the buff from 5th Legion and it gets the Manor. So by doing it this way, he's saying, I want to protect this 5th Legion more. That's more important. But he still wanted to play the Brawler to prevent Vipers and things. So I'm just...
Dawnbreaker.
I'm just very interested in that line of play, and I'm curious to see if the extra damage comes back to haunt him that he could have squeezed out of that.
Now, Twitch chat has accused us of missing Dawnbreaker triggers in the past, so I need to know, is Thorana undead?
No.
No? Okay.
Listen, I can't even tell if it's a man or a woman. I certainly can't tell if it's living or dead, man. But no, it's not.
Fair enough. You know, I was thinking, too, maybe one of the ways, I mean, we've only had one rune broken, and it's turn 10. Maybe this is just a great way to beat Telvanni, though, right? Like, as the Halalu player, neither player breaking any runes, you might think, I'm just going to draw more cards, and then I'm going to win turn 11, 10, that range.
Just tell me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the game plan Traitor-Joe had going in. Oh wow, what a good pickup though.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. Haunted Manor.
He has so much reach right now. Yeah. Hold on, that Cliff Racer. If he plays the Manor into a Cliff Racer, that's 8. He's got 11.
He's close.
It's actually a little bit sad. He's just 2 Magicka off a lethal with that Dawnbreaker. If he could play them all, he would have it. But he could certainly get it within range if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Given the way Joe has played thus far, I have a feeling that that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, I have to agree. Very conservative lines of play here, trying to starve TurquoiseLink out of having access to those huge, powerful cards that the Telvanni deck wants to have.
I mean, I think it still comes down. We probably still see the Cliff Racer, but I feel like the path here is going to be... Oh, and I'm wrong. I was expecting him to break maybe 1 or 2 runes to set up a lethal next turn, but he opts to just pass outright.
Mentor's Ring the pickup. That's a one of in Link's deck, I believe. Let me check here. Yep, Mentor's Ring. Just a combo with the...
Should be with the bat.
Dude, there's no bat in this list.
Oh, well, that is interesting. Well, it could still combo with Viper for
it
lethal.
combos with Viper, Baron Zaya for drain, Blackhand Messenger for drain. But yeah, there's no bat. Huh. Did not see that coming. There is the Fuzz Roda. Or just Fuzz at this point.
Still pretty impactful by pulling off that 5th Legion trainer. But, interestingly, guarantees Traitor-Joe has a second creature to trigger the Haunted Manor.
It does. It does.
So if Joe didn't draw a creature here, that might actually be the kind of play that comes back to haunt.
I would love to see a deck tracker try to make sense of what is happening to TurquoiseLink's deck this game.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of things getting shuffled in.
Yeah. I have to think long term too. This favors Traitor-Joe, right? Like, I mean, Unrelenting Force. What kind of draw is that? Ooh, Mudcrab Merchant. All right, let's get some Mudcrab emotes in chat if that exists yet.
Hold on here. Hold on.
No, I don't care about lethal. I want Mudcrab Merchant.
I know you want it, but
I know.
Training is over. It's time to act.
I know you want it, but you're not gonna get it.
I know it's lethal. I just. All right. Well, congratulations to Traitor-Joe for navigating that game.
Yeah.
In a way I think a lot of players would not have seen.
Yeah, he did something with Halalu that I'm really a big fan of. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you
Winning?
are, well, yes, winning. But
Charging?
like, when you're in certain matchups, identifying that you have to pivot sometimes from an aggro deck to almost more of like a combo deck. It reminds me a lot of SLW was a player who used to pilot a deck that was called Math Crusader.
Yeah,
and it ran a lot of
absolutely.
aggressive cards that you just waited and played a bunch on the same turn.
Yeah.
Traitor-Joe taking a very similar path here and saying, I'm just going to rely on a couple of big bursts of damage to avoid giving my opponent tools, and it worked.
I mean, that sword-wielding 13 attack Cliff Racer was the kind of card you need to kill against a deck you want to starve of resources.
Yeah, absolutely. TurquoiseLink now losing 2 straight. What do you do to get back into this if you're Link?
I don't think I take the Telvanni list into a game again, because it seems like Joe knows how to play around that deck really, really well. I don't want to just lose this next one.
See, I'm actually on the other end. I think you take Telvanni in because
your opponent's playing Scout.
Yeah, I like that matchup better against Scout. Now, eventually, I have to win with either one, so I guess long term it doesn't matter.
That's fair.
But you know, I guess I could find an argument for saying, you know, my Halalu list really only lost because of prophecies. That Scout list doesn't really have a lot.
I have to agree. I think that you just run the Halalu in.
All right, well, it'll be a matter of moments before we find out which person is correct.
Yeah, but don't forget, there's still one more qualifying weekend, right? So, like, if you want to be one of these guys in the top 8 next weekend, that's still on the table. You can still make that happen. You have a week to practice, and the next Saturday, you can start grinding your way up to the top 8 and maybe find yourself cast next weekend.
Yeah, if you want to
right down there.
Yeah, you want to hear us say your name during the next broadcast. All you got to do is sign up. Compete.
Let me just throw a few out there just to see, test this out. Richard,
Jerry,
Samantha,
Trinity.
Who the hell do you know named Trinity?
I have a niece, man.
Oh, dude, I'm so sorry. I just keep coming with the low blows, and I am really sorry, man, because this has been a great honor casting these games with you. We've seen some amazing stuff so far today.
Yeah, we have.
And we have a lot of stuff lined up still.
So I want to go back to why I think Telvanni is a good matchup against Scout. Here's why.
Okay.
The reason I think Telvanni is a good matchup is because...
Yeah, I'm listening.
Is because it has the ability to almost do what Traitor-Joe just did against Link's Telvanni list, right? You can hoard your cards and then kind of just win all in one turn.
That's true, you can.
And that clearly worked for Traitor-Joe, right? Taking that combo-oriented approach and saying, I don't want you to get any more resources than you have to.
Yeah.
I think the Telvanni deck can do that. Now, clearly, it's less aggressive than Halalu, right?
Yeah.
But its ability, its capability to just win before your opponent can react, I think that still is a good matchup.
It's possible. You got to draw the right half of your deck.
Genius Pathmage helps with that.
It does. It does. And it looks like our players are ready to go, and we have we've got a control on combo control matchup here as Trader-Joe rocks his scout deck and TurquoiseLink is running that Telvanni list again.
Hey, could you do me a favor? Could you tell me which deck Link is playing?
Link is on Telvanni.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Did I not say that?
No, I just wanted to reaffirm which one of us properly predicted this.
Oh, my bad.
Because I'm petty like that.
that was pretty good, though. I gotta give you credit for that, because I'm trying to get my digs in where I can.
Yeah, I know. So, Trader-Joe actually has a really good opening hand with the scout list.
Yeah, that's good.
Thieves Guild Recruit on curve without the ring is great.
Yes.
Tree Minder helps as well, but Link is going to have a couple of Tree Minders of his own. He's also got 2 card draw options with Mastermind and Recruit and a Nixox already.
Both players rocking the multiple Tree Minder hand means we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of these decks, the expensive stuff, sooner rather than later, which I'm excited to see.
Yeah, this might be kind of like a combo-ish, control-ish mirror, but it's going to go quick, I think. At least you're in the early turn.
What are you hoping for here? Like, I mean, Link is in Link's Telvanni list. There are no. Oh, there's one no Holodeath Priest.
No, he has kind of refined his list to be very combo oriented. He's trimmed most of the fat off of this thing, and it is go get Nixox, play as many 5/5s as possible.
It's not a bad plan. Nicky Ox. He's a powerful gangster.
And I've heard him say in the past, it wasn't like an interview for this or anything, but I've heard him say in the past that
you heard Nixox say something.
No, TurquoiseLink.
Okay.
That the Telvanni deck isn't necessarily about always winning all in one turn.
Right.
It can certainly do that, but it is kind of about just putting as many 5/5s on the board as possible and letting your opponent struggle with it.
I think I heard CVH say something like that just the other day too.
Yeah. So Necromancer is coming out for a
Bringing back the Hismage. That's a powerful play.
Very powerful play here.
These decks are ramping like crazy. The 2 Uprising Joe's hands, though, look... They're not great at the moment, but they look like they will be good soon.
Yeah, if the game goes long enough that he can start generating value with them, he's going to be much better for having them in his hand. However, Link has just better creature quality at the moment.
I agree.
He's in one of those positions where if he top decks an Uprising, he could just put this thing out of reach.
I totally agree.
But, you know, as we saw in that very first qualifier, right, the first opening match we had with Jason, there can be an awful lot of back and forth in these matchups. Telvanni versus Scout. I think it was Jason.
Not over till it's over.
Yeah, please don't hack me. We called it for one or the other side numerous times.
Right, exactly. You know what nobody we've seen has really done or taken advantage of yet is the opportunity to, between rounds, switch your title. You know, right now we're still got the Dawnbreaker for Joe, still have the Persistent for Link.
Well,
you could play some games there.
I mean, you could, but Link is persistent, so he's going to stick with it.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. But I think it's a missed opportunity, really, to do a little showboating for the cameras.
I mean, I would like to see Trader-Joe do something like that. He is a bit traitorous. Would just turn his back on whatever title he's been rocking.
I don't think that one works, man.
All right, so Joe picks up a bat.
Yeah. And swings. Oh.
Yeah, gaining health here, probably not super imperative right away, but it does give him one more tool in the toolbox for later.
You do want to see one of those eventually.
Meanwhile, Link has picked up a Drain from his Greybeard mentor.
And a Parthenax.
And a Parthenax.
Oh, you know what? One of the ways that Joe can shut this down, I mean, is this is the chance to hit with your
Hallowed Death Priest?
Hallowed Death Priest, yeah. I can never remember the name of that card because I uninstall the game briefly every time it gets played again.
Yeah. It is worth noting, Joe, trying to tech for the control matchups, actually runs 2 copies, which is one more than the lists traditionally run.
Right. That's something we've seen players go back and forth over these leagues, is how many Hollow Death Priests am I running?
Yeah, and it's a really good card in this matchup specifically because not even Parthenax, but Nixox costing 7 is a frequent victim as well.
And Laneth is a card you want to hit as well.
So, thankfully for Link, he has not found any yet, Trader-Joe.
Wow, Joe says, hey, I only need the 2 Uprisings. Probably right there, although it's got to be a little painful to throw those away at any point.
Well, I mean, he opted to dig more, so maybe he is trying to find one of those Death Priests to abuse.
I think you have to. I mean, you have a very limited window at which you want to hit that second Nicky Ox in hand.
And it's a discounted one at that because of the Thieves Guild Recruit. Link We said it earlier, but it's even more so now. Link is like one Ulfric's Uprising away from being a runaway train in this matchup.
It's a great song. Great song from the 90s.
All right, Camel might help him get there. Camel comes down.
Camel finds Laneth.
Laneth, well, that's one way to find an Uprising if you need to.
Joe needs to blink. Joe needs to pull in into Zoa against that Dagoth list from last week and just repeatedly blink himself a Hollowed Death Priest.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is right now, even if he had top decked it, he does not have enough tools to do it more than once.
Right.
So
Scout support's huge, though. I like Scout support. I like Merchant's Camel. You know, Joe still has one turn to pull that off. But yeah, right now Link is looking real strong. Link's hand is sort of a who's who of powerful creatures.
yeah, again, in terms of Uprising value, and we talked about it at the start of the broadcast, anything with a powerful summon effect is like a poster child for Uprising, but this is literally the who's who.
Yeah.
Nixox generating Magicka allows for massive, massive amounts of cards to be played. Laneth fetching whatever you want. Parthenax giving you free shouts.
Yeah. You know, Nixox took like a month off, right?
It took a break.
It did. The original combo deck was huge. The card got nerfed from generating 6 Magicka to generating 5.
Yep.
And, oh, there's the Hollow Death Priest, though.
At the expense of 2 Soul Tears, though.
That's rough. But, I mean, this is clearly Joe's plan. I think you just jam it.
Yeah, I think that speaks to the immediacy of how much the Death Priest is needed. Because think about it. Joe could have taken a Soul Tear and then used it on a Death Priest and or whatever else he wanted later, but he says, no, something's up here. I need to hit things.
Oh, you want a Night to Remember, too.
Yeah. So you said he needs to find ways to blink it. If that Death Priest survives, he's got ways to blink it.
We're going to see Mummy Tribal on the other side of the board here in a second.
You know, speaking of really awesome premium art, both that Hallowed Death Priest and a Night to Remember are also fantastic.
Yeah, that glowing, shining mug of ale. Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. Night to Remember, by the way, one of the most interesting little side quests you can get involved in Skyrim. I'm a big fan of that one. I've never actually completed the game. I've got like 300 hours logged in Skyrim. I couldn't even tell you what the main story is about because I wander off.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm the Towley of Skyrim.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
No, probably doesn't surprise many people.
Yeah, Link has some decisions to make here because you cannot be happy about seeing that Death Priest come down with the hand you had. You had everything going for you, and just the presence of a single Death Priest is enough to make you groan.
And you know that Traitor-Joe's deck is full of ways to recur that card. So you have to think, how much of this can I dump out? Do I need to play Laneth now?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think a Laneth is enough to get rid of it. It might even be...
Well, it's not enough to get rid of it, but it's not going to get turned into a mummy if you play it.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be time to play the Nixoxes before you lose out on value. Maybe play the Mastermind, see if I can find a Viper, something like that to deal with the Priest, some combination of those. But it's not a good time to have the hand you have so close to going off in terms of your combo and see a Death Priest come down.
No, I mean, like the Boston Archdiocese 20 years ago, you have to get this Death Priest off the board before it does any more damage. Word Wall, not going to do much. What is the decision here? Looks like you're right. He's landing the Nixoxes. And here comes the Laneth, wants to get it out while they can.
Yeah. I really like this play. This is heads up. You'll lose one Nixox if he does Night to Remember on the Death Priest.
Right.
But by going and finding an Experiment, that's obviously something that cannot be hit.
Right. And if you're Joe too, you must think like this is Link dumping out the stuff that's going to get hit by recurring this Death Priest. So like maybe I just don't want to blink Death Priest anymore.
So Traitor-Joe doesn't have the benefit of seeing Link's hand.
Right.
So when you put yourself in Traitor-Joe's position, that Shadowfen Priest makes you have to make some really tough decisions here.
Yeah.
Because you could, if you're fearing Ulfric's Uprising, you could play the Priest to silence Laneth, use a Night to Remember or Uprising, also silence the Nixox, and say, okay, the Uprising you may have just went to get, not helpful.
Right.
And it does look like that's the route he's going to go. Unfortunately, it doesn't really help against the experiments.
No.
Which is, I think, why Link picked it. It's such a heads-up play. A lot of
I agree.
mental back and forth going on here.
Grabbing Galen. Second camel goes off. Let's see what that pulls.
Galen's a great pickup. If the second camel does find, say, Trader-Joe's Parthenax, that could be a really, really big pickup.
I'm on the edge of my seat here. Like, I love watching these decks duke it out, and it's not over till it's over, like we said.
It's kind of, oh, that's a great Galen target as well.
It is.
All right, so he does silence both. Trades everything out. Very good play.
TurquoiseLink's hand is of middling value, except for that Devaith's Experiments, which is going to be huge.
I like the play on the word wall here. It gives him a very easy betray target.
It does.
There's always
What are you grabbing here? You're grabbing a Laneth. Are you grabbing two Laneths, or are you grabbing a Nixox?
Well, I think that if you take a Laneth and a Nixox, Laneth lets you find Uprising, and the Nixox lets you then play that, and then you can go fetch even more.
I agree.
If you do want to chain them out, and as Link has said in the past...
Grabs Doppelganger.
Oh, okay, Doppelganger works as well.
But yeah, like you said, like Link said, sometimes just a bunch of Nixoxes is enough.
Yeah, so he does hit the Nixox for the second one. This is also entirely fine in place of an Uprising because you can just keep playing big bodies. This can be on a Laneth if you want to go find yet another card. Could be on a Nixox if you want to keep putting stuff on the board.
I think you probably want to hit Laneth here. Yeah, there you go. I mean, and now you have two level 2 Drained Vitalities. You have another Devaith's Experiments. You're just looking to fill the board with stuff. Ooh, are you going to play 2 Drained Vitalities this turn?
By playing 2 Drained Vitalities, it does get rid of the Death Priest and prevents future shenanigans. It does potentially protect his 5/5 in the Shadow Lane from the double trade.
There we go. Link, very, very productive turn here, all because of that one Devaith's Experiments.
Experiments is a powerful card.
It's
the attraction of playing the Telvanni version over, say, a Scout version. Scout, 50-card deck, a little bit more refined, easier to find your core combo pieces. Telvanni,
no Laneth, no Experiments.
Yeah, Telvanni bigger upside, in my opinion. If it gets to the point where it draws what it wants, it can be even more degenerate.
I have to agree. I'm still kind of stuck, actually, on TurquoiseLink not running Giant Bat. Just decided, look, I'm just going for value. I'm not going for an OTK.
Well, I mean, again, as we said, Link has said in the past, sometimes just playing a bunch of big bodies
I agree.
is enough to get the job done. And we'll see if that's the case. He's kind of put Trader-Joe in a bind right now. He's facing down lethal.
Yeah, this is huge.
Joe's got some ways that he can potentially slow that down, but with the presence of Experiments to go find maybe that third Drain Vitality.
Now, does Joe have a Viper in his discard pile?
I don't believe Joe's played a Viper yet this game.
Because Necromancer, Night to Remember, gives you 12 damage you can take off the board in the form of killing 2 Laneths. Thinking of ways that Joe just doesn't die. But another Devaith's Experiment's coming up, and a Mummy to fuel it is going to be huge for Link.
Yeah, I mean, things are looking pretty grim for Joe right now. He's got a lot of Shackle at his disposal if he really wants to just, like, blink and abuse the Sanctuary pet.
It looks like there is actually a discard, or a Territorial Viper over there in Joe's discard pile.
Okay, so it probably went there via one of the camels, something like that. But yes, there is one Viper there.
Okay. So Joe has ways to stay alive. But Devaith's Experiments is going to be huge.
All right, so this actually might be the Viper then.
Oh, dude, I called it.
Yeah. Yeah, the Viper is obviously, I think, a better play than the Shackles.
Yeah. By the way, maybe it shows. I actually spent some time in the last couple weeks learning to play this deck. And it is a blast, I have to say.
All right, so Joe does a fantastic job of just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, that was good. That Devaith's Experiment, though, is exactly what you're saying. This is the power that you get playing the Telvanni Uprising decks over the Scout Uprising decks. Or I guess Link would know, over the Tribunal Temple Uprising decks.
There's
All right,
always a
so
way, and I can always find
Laneth
it.
coming down again.
Grabs an uprising.
Not exactly a shocker by any means.
I think you hit the Nixox this time. And then you do it again.
And then you do it again.
This is going to generate
the value of this uprising.
a lot of cards. This is huge. You grab one uprising, you grab a second uprising, you generate 15 magica. You play uprising again, you generate more magicka, you're up to 15. You grab a doppelganger. You know, this would,
unless I'm bad at math here, I'm pretty sure he's got lethal.
15 on the board, Mentor's Ring, Laneth.
Because he just needs a Viper,
Yeah, you're right.
and there it is.
Angry Snack lethal. This is going to be great. So it's down to prophecies with Joe, and Joe does not have a lot of prophecies available to him.
That is
What do we
one
got?
dangerous noodle.
I'm excited to see this swing. And you know what I have to say? I like this deck without the Viper. I'm sorry, without the bet. I like the Viper here. This is huge.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this version because, as we said earlier, this version doesn't run Solitaire.
Yeah,
right?
Here we go.
He's running Greybeard Mentors to guarantee draw drain, and if you're not running Solitaire, the bat
This
feels
should
like a
be
wasted
fast.
slot. This is
There we go.
just, again, a trimmed down, combo-oriented
Something
version.
beautiful, too, about getting killed by a creature with lethal. Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so Link showing us how it's done there and tying this series up 2-2.
Yeah.
I love when these first matches of the morning go to Game 5. This is exactly what I want to see.
Congratulations to Link. We're
Yeah.
going to Game 5, just like you said.
Exactly.
We know it's going to be Halalu versus Scout.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it. I love seeing these green-purple decks in action, these uprising decks. And I have to say, some tight play from Halalu can get there, so this should be a good one.
Yeah, I'm really anxious to see whether or not Halalu can get the job done against the boogeyman of the format.
Watching, you know, it's a kind of a shame. Joe and Link, two great players, both people I would love to see playing at QuakeCon for the $50,000 prize. Fortunately, there's still one more opportunity next week in the qualifier because one of these players, after this next game, is not moving on, and one of them is going to be in our top 4.
Yeah, but they do earn points.
That's true.
TurquoiseJoe was in our top 8 during the first qualifier.
He has a lot of points already.
So he could still go a long way towards getting to QuakeCon there as well. Looking at what we got left, again, it's House Halalu versus Scout. Who do you think has the edge here?
I think Scout has the edge. This is going to be tough. It's going to be an uphill battle for Link and his House Halalu deck, I think. Now, with the right draw, you can get a turn 4, turn 5 kill. I mean, you kind of got to high roll like crazy. But the Scout deck can also stumble. You know, you draw the wrong uprising at the wrong time, basically. And you're looking at a bad time also.
Yeah. I mean, we did see TurquoiseJoe pilot Halalu against a similar deck.
Definitely.
Right? Maybe that's the blueprint for what Link has got to do here.
All right, so we are joining our players as they make their mulligan decisions. We have TurquoiseJoe on Scout. We have TurquoiseLink on Halalu, 2-2. This one is for advancement to the top 4. And we got some pretty interesting hands here. I think Joe's got to be excited to see a Drain Vitality. And that Indral Mastermind's going to do some work as well. Parthenak's not exactly where you want to be. And TurquoiseLink has a pretty interesting hand as well. 5th Legion Trainer, Saren Pawnbroker,
It's time.
and a Nord Firebrand Crusader's Assault all at his disposal.
Yeah, the Parthenax is one of those, like, kind of feels bad pickups this early in the game.
It is.
It's just going to be dead weight.
It should rarely matter, I think, in this matchup.
Yeah, by the time that card could be coming down, if it does, TurquoiseJoe's probably already won at that point.
And Joe's committing here to the Indral Mastermind by using that ring charge. Looks like they might regret it a little bit, but there it is.
We can't anticipate.
And this is going to set up a real nice Crusader's Assault Nord Firebrand if that's the path Link wants to take as well. I think you're looking for word walls here, right?
Yeah, if you're TurquoiseJoe, you definitely want a word wall for that drain. You would feel a million times better about it.
Yeah. You know, you also have to work this balance, right? Of like, maybe I kind of want 1 or 2 of my runes to be broken if I'm Joe, so I have more resources to work with, because this Parthenax is kind of dead. This Shadow Fin Priest is not going to be hugely impactful. And this Territorial Viper, while it matches up well against the Candlehearth Brawler, isn't going to be great long term.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk, especially against Halalu, because you're okay with probably drawing a card or 2 off of some runes.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do it at the expense of the board getting so out of control you can't come back from it. And Hlaalu has the ability to play a big board, refill their hand, so that even if you do clear it, they can just kind of vomit out a bunch of creatures again anyway.
You're likely to need multiple level 3 drain vitalities to make it through this.
Or some really big giant bats.
That's true. That's true. I mean, Hlaalu has trouble playing from behind, right? So if you advance to the point where you are just sending giant bats face and they don't have a silence effect available, they might just get beaten down.
Yeah, now that second Death Priest is probably not what Trader-Joe was looking for.
No.
Took the one earlier off of the Mastermind, but a second one here.
Yeah, this is going to be rough. Joe going to activate that Seren Pawnbroker, I think, this turn in conjunction with your clan captain. I'm sorry, Link.
We stand united.
Yeah, there's a strong possibility that by the time that second Death Priest comes down, there won't be any creatures in Link's hand to hit.
Right, I agree. Pulls a Moving Shadows, kind of cute. The kind of card that could get a lot of value, surprise lethal, not when you ever really play around. This is rough. Did you just Thorn Hissmage here?
It's a tough call. With only 3 cards in my opponent's hand, maybe you play the Death Priest just saying if he has a Cliff Racer or something, I want to get rid of that.
I do like the 5 toughness on the Death Priest here, I will say.
Yeah, it does have 5 toughness. Hissmage does buy you some time, but let's be honest, it's probably just eating that Nord Firebrand if you don't feel good about it.
Looking down 13 damage. This is the kind of explosive hand from Hlaalu that they need to beat this kind of slow, clunky hand from Scout.
There is also that feels bad moment of if I play a Thorn Hissmage and my opponent has Crusader's Assault, I'm just feeding them more fuel.
Absolutely.
So this is not an easy position for Joe to be in. Link has kind of had the ideal opener you hope for. He's got a couple of cards that buff things, a couple of cheap creatures.
Now, does Link have Mudcrab Merchants in his list? I'm checking it out here. Looks like he does, so it's possible that Link could give Joe an Ice Storm for some reason, and that could keep Joe in this. I mean, look, it's possible. I saw Matt Oblivion yesterday, actually, play a Mudcrab Merchant and have to take an Ice Storm from it to keep his opponent from having it. Doesn't look like that's
so, Trader-Joe does play the Hissmage. I can't say I disagree with it. You've got to do something to try to slow him down.
Yeah.
Getting the extra Magicka off of it means that you can potentially play more things should you draw him next turn.
Well, this lets you play the Ice Storm that Mudcrab Merchant gives you. All right, so looks like Link's not into playing Crusader's Assault, which is kind of interesting. Nope, thinking about it again, hovering over, going back and forth between the Candle Hearth and the Assault. Moving Shadow and Shadow Shift are cute, but I mean, not where you really want to be right now. You might just cycle the Shadow.
I can understand maybe skipping it. Like I said, if you just run the Firebrand into the Hissmage, the Candle Hearth is swinging for 4 itself, and it also lets you further develop board. And I think when you've got somebody on kind of their heels a bit, further developing, making sure you're keeping the pressure going. Doesn't feel terrible. And yeah, it looks like that's going to be the play here because Candle Hearth can still come down, trade, and survive. I like this route by Link.
I do too. Lose nothing, push damage. Scout decks traditionally have some of the weakest prophecies in the game. And Joe's down 9. This game could be over as soon as next turn.
Yeah, this is that ideal Hlaalu hand.
Right.
I know it hasn't performed super well in tournaments, but
I don't know that there's anything Joe can do about this. Some combination of Sanctuary Pet and Word Wall Drain Vitality is it, right? It has to be those cards. Nothing else puts a lot of defensive stuff on the board. So you Sanctuary Pet the 4/2, you Drain Vitality the 4/1, and
well, the drain, if you're playing Word Wall, could take out the Clan Captain, and that pulls the most damage off the board.
Yeah, that's fair. Joe's trying to do the math here. Yeah, this is the kind of Hlaalu hand Link needed in order to make this happen.
Again, a perfect mix of cheap, aggressive creatures and things that buff.
Looking for a second Word Wall. Oh my god, a second Drain Vitality.
Yeah.
That is exactly what you play that card for, the dig there.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's a clear.
He just hit the jackpot with that draw.
Wow. And just like that, Trader-Joe back in this, showing us why this deck can never be counted out. Link has to be kicking himself right now.
Yeah, I mean, that can't feel That can't feel good right now.
That is.
That's almost as bad as losing to 3 prophecies.
It is. It is. Wow. That is huge. And Link's hand is basically non-functional. Moving shadows, just pushing some damage, drawing a card. Do you play your Clan Captain here?
I don't think you do. You don't want to. You don't want to break a rune if you don't have to here.
Stormcloak. Wow. Wow. So just Link
probably
is still in this. Link is still in this. I think you just play the Haunted
Yeah,
Manor
you play the
fast.
Manor here and try to set up some charge for extra damage the next turn. So Joe is still in a position where he's got to gain some health.
Yeah. And with all of the damage coming from Link in his hand, this is actually secretly a great Hollow Death Priest turn.
Well, Link is essentially 2 damage away from lethal.
Yeah.
So a raiding party, for example, would be a fantastic pickup for him.
Yeah, I think you get the Haunted Manor off the board. You burn down the Spooky Palace or whatever.
It would not be the first time we've seen a raiding party top deck lethal in these qualifiers.
I'm ready to throw my hands up in the air and yell goal, because that would be a pretty impressive top deck.
Yeah, so the Shadowfen Priest here could remove that Manor.
Yeah.
But that still would not stop raiding party lethal,
huge.
so.
Crusader's Assault, what does that do here? Not quite.
I mean, it does let him draw 2 cards if he wants. A Clan Captain, because he has to spend all of his hand, right? But a Clan Captain, a Vanguard, and then an Assault all going into the word wall could potentially draw him 2 cards. He may opt to just draw 1 like he did last turn as well. I mean, he could push 3 or 4 damage.
I am sitting here with my popcorn on the edge of my seat because this game is pretty intense at this point.
Yeah, Link has a really tough decision to make here because you don't have enough for lethal. And so you basically have to either give your opponent cards and leave him at like 5 to draw 2 cards, or you can take him to 2 and just draw 1 card.
I think there's a lot of value in getting him to 2.
My business is none of theirs.
Okay, Crusaders.
Looks like Link is instead wanting to draw more cards.
And we know there's a second drain Vitality, but that puts Joe to 4. Morag Tongue, Aspirant to draw.
Yeah.
Withered Hand Cultist, not terrible.
I actually think that the reason he's opting to draw 2 cards here is because he probably thinks Joe does have that second drain, right? So whatever you develop, you just in your head are going, all right, it's gone.
They have the second
right.
drain.
So I need to find the best quality stuff that I can. I need to dig the furthest I can. By going this route, if a drain is the option, here Link is going to get a 5/5 from the Vanguard. He'll have the Withered Hand, the Aspirant, and whatever he draws. I kind of like this path.
What have we here?
Comes down to thieves who recruit looking for more options. Solitaire not really useful at the moment. You know, if I'm Joe, I'm thinking I'm kind of afraid of some charge creatures. Definitely afraid of some charge creatures. I gotta drain Vitality, but I'm kind of comfortable knowing that I have the Sanctuary Pet to lock down that 5/5, the Stormcloak Battalion, which is actually now a zombie. So there we go. Goblin Skulk. Wow, so you just play out most of your stuff here.
This is kind of a tough spot to be in. You have to think you really wanted to draw anything with charge there.
Yeah.
Withered Hand is likely going to come down for sure.
Well, I mean, Link has lethal draws in the form of Cliff Racer.
Yeah.
I want to be an assassin, like Naru.
All right.
Wants to be an assassin like Naryu here. Undead Clan Sorcerer, while a really interesting inclusion in Joe's deck, not a great draw.
Yeah, we were talking earlier before the broadcast today that we really liked the idea of keeping 1 or 2 sorcerers in a scout list because there are so many ways to kill 3 creatures.
If you're Joe here, you have to Scouts Report into Drain Vitality? Is that it? That's all you can do. This is looking grim. Now we've seen Joe pull off miracles before. Doesn't want Tree Minder's not good enough.
No, Tree Minder
it's drain
essentially just blocks 2 damage. Sanctuary Pet blocks 2 or 3.
Not even a guard keeps you alive here. Word Wall's not good enough. This is it. That's game. This is it. I think Sanctuary Pet word wall locks things down, so I guess it's not game yet, but it is close.
Well, the problem, though, is what do you lock down? Because that Goblin Skulk is worth a Firebrand.
It has to be Goblin Skulk.
So
Well,
then you're leaving yourself potentially a 1?
Yeah. There we go. Word wall, Sanctuary Pet. Keeps him technically alive. No? Okay.
Yeah, he goes that route. Wow.
I mean, you're going to 1 either way. No, you're going to 2 this way. Ooh,
Oh.
All right.
Also, that Aspirant's going to create another creature as well.
It is. Come on, Mudcrab Merchant. Let's see something epic here.
Mudcrab Merchant.
Mudcrab
Read
Merchant.
my lips.
Let's see it.
Mouthpaw.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Bringer of Nightmares. Turn a random creature into a random creature. Green Touch Spriggan. That's lethal. Mudcrab Merchant,
Yeah.
Bringer of Nightmares, RNG is lethal, is going to bring it home for TurquoiseLink as he advances to our top 4 today.
Somewhere, CBH is cringing at the turn of events that just occurred.
Bringer of Nightmares is a card that got nerfed at one point because it was competitive playable.
That's right. So
Oh my god.
First and foremost, congratulations to TurquoiseLink. You've
TurquoiseLink.
advanced to the top 4.
Welcome to your top 4, your first appearance in the top 4 on the back of a Mudcrab Merchant.
You're 1 series away from going to QuakeCon.
Oh my god.
So congratulations. But again,
Yeehaw.
we got a card with a random effect, creating
We
another
did.
card with a random effect, resulting in a
God.
victory.
Bringer of Nightmares, Green Touch Spriggan's first appearance in any tournament ever, probably.
Probably.
And Bringer of Nightmares, too, actually, for that matter.
Yeah. So
Wow.
interesting
TurquoiseLink.
finish. You know, that brings up a good point, which is
Does it?
Yeah. Do you think, with the proliferation, especially after the series, Mudcrab Merchant is the sort of thing that is going to be looked at some point?
I mean, I think you have to. It's been just numbers. You know, somebody asked on Reddit the other day, what's the most played card in the Master Series? I think it's got to be Mudcrab Merchant. It might be Nord Firebrand or Steel Scimitar, but I think it's got to be Mudcrab Merchant.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that or it's Necromancer, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense.
They're both up there in terms of
Absolutely.
quantity. Mudcrab Merchant might actually eke things out just because the decks that have been running it, a lot of players brought like 4 of them.
Yeah.
You think of people like I Like Pasta, Dust had it in a lot of his lists.
Let's take a look at our bracket, and because we have a guy we're about to go to in our next casted series who is running 4 Mudcrab Merchant decks. So we have 3 of our top 4 already lined up. TurquoiseLink is going to be facing Burn the Sky, who went 3-1 against Tomar Corey.
Yeah,
impressive
and
series.
As we said at the beginning of this broadcast, we're really excited to see Burn the Sky. Again,
Absolutely.
very well-known quality player.
And Mazaboom going 3-0 against El Turbo.
Yeah, sweeps, very hard to come by in these series.
Absolutely.
So congratulations to Boom.
That's
Again,
impressive.
player we highlighted at the beginning of this.
Yep.
When we said this top 8 was stacked with very
really is.
talented players, we were not kidding.
And players whose decks we want to see. I'm excited to see Mazaboom. But before that, in our next casted match, we are going to see Santos Vela taking on Karakan Zul.
I cannot wait to see this.
This is going to be great. This is going to be an epic series of control on mud crabs.
Yeah,
I could
and
not
that'll
be more
be
excited.
here after the break, so stick around.
Right, we'll be right back.